Welcome back to Have More Babies. Today we're diving into something really crucial for raising kids, their mental health, and specifically the big role pediatricians play.
That's right. It's something we might not immediately think of when we picture a pediatrician's visit. Usually it's shots or sore throats first in mind.
Exactly, physical health. But it's all connected, isn't it? Mental, physical.
Deeply connected, especially in children.
And for this deep dive, we're using information from Omega Pediatrics. They really shed light on how pediatricians are often the first line of defense, identifying and helping with these mental health concerns. So let's start there. How intertwined are physical and mental health in kids?
Oh, it's incredibly intertwined. Think about it. A child with ongoing stomach aches, maybe some kind of chronic pain. That physical feeling day in and day out, it can easily lead to anxiety, maybe even depression.
Okay, so physical issues can trigger mental health struggles.
Absolutely.
Mm.
But it works the other way, too. A child feeling really anxious, say about school or social stuff, they might start getting actual headaches or stomach problems, real physical symptoms.
Right, it's not just in their head.
Not at all.
Hmm.
And these things, whether they start physically or mentally, they seriously impact how well a child does in school, their friendships, just their everyday life.
That really clarifies things. So with that connection in mind, what are some of the common mental health problems that pediatricians are seeing these days?
Well, based on what the CDC identifies, and Omega Pediatrics points this out too, there's quite a few common ones. ADHD is a big one. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That impacts focus, impulse control.
Right, we hear a lot about ADHD.
Definitely. Then there's Tourette syndrome. That involves tics, those involuntary movements or sounds. OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, is another. That's where kids get caught up in persistent thoughts, obsessions, and feel driven to do certain actions, compulsion.
Like excessive hand washing, maybe?
Exactly, that kind of thing. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, can happen after a child goes through something really frightening. Nightmares, flashbacks.
That must be so difficult.
It really is. Then there's general anxiety, that feeling of fear, unease, worry that can just be overwhelming. And depression, which isn't just sadness, it's that persistent low mood, losing interest in things they used to love.
Okay. Any others?
Yes, pediatricians are also looking out for things like oppositional defiant disorder or ODD. That's more about uncooperative, defiant behavior towards authority figures. And even conduct disorder, which is more serious, involving difficulty following rules, sometimes even aggression or violence.
Wow.
And beyond those specific diagnoses, pediatricians are also screening for autism spectrum disorder, checking for learning disabilities, and importantly, looking for any signs of self-harm or substance use, even in younger kids.
That's a really broad scope. It highlights how observant pediatricians need to be. So for parents listening, what signs might they see at home? What are the signals that a child might be struggling?
Yeah, there are definitely things parents can watch for. Sometimes it shows up physically. You might notice frequent headaches, stomach aches, maybe even rapid breathing, or their heart racing. Things often linked to anxiety. Digestive issues, too.
Physical signs, okay. What about behavior?
Big changes in sleep patterns are common. Maybe they suddenly have trouble sleeping or they're tired all the time, way more than usual. Also, persistent worrying. Worrying constantly, even about little things that wouldn't normally bother them.
Constant worry.
Yeah, or becoming more isolated, pulling back from friends, quitting activities they used to enjoy.
Yeah.
You might see just general nervousness, agitation, seeming on edge a lot.
Okay.
Or they might start actively avoiding situations or places because of fear or anxiety.
Like refusing to go to school or parties.
Exactly. Changes in appetite are another one, eating way more or way less. And notice if they start giving up easily on things they find challenging, things they might have pushed through before, or if their school performance suddenly drops.
Academic struggles too.
Definitely. And of course, probably the most concerning signs are persistent sadness, irritability, a generally low mood that just doesn't lift, or feelings of guilt, blaming themselves for things. And crucially, any talk about death, dying, or suicide, that needs immediate attention, always.
Those are really important flags to be aware of. Thank you. So let's say a parent notices some of these things or the pediatrician picks up on something during a checkup. What happens next? How do they address it?
Well, the first step is usually just talking. The pediatrician will chat with the child, if they're old enough, and the parents, asking about mood, behavior, what changes everyone's noticed.
Getting the full picture.
Right. Then they might use some standardized screening tools. These are often questionnaires that help measure symptoms more objectively.
Okay, like a survey.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Helps quantify things.
Yeah.
If those screenings or the conversation raise concerns, they might do a more formal evaluation, maybe a psychological evaluation or developmental screening, depending on what they suspect.
A deeper dive.
Exactly. Based on all that info, they'll work with the family to create a mental health care plan. That plan could involve different things, maybe psychotherapy, like talk therapy. Sometimes medication management might be considered or recommended, connecting the family with support services too.
And what if it's something more complex?
Great question. For more complicated cases or things needing specialized care, the pediatrician will absolutely refer the family to other mental health professionals. They're often the gateway to that next level of support.
That makes sense. It's good to know they don't have to handle everything alone. Who are some of these other specialists that might get involved?
Omega Pediatrics actually outlines quite a few helpful roles. For instance, there are development and behavioral pediatricians. They have extra training, specifically in children's developmental and behavioral health. They do assessments, help create treatment plans, often working alongside the general pediatrician for trickier cases.
Okay, so a pediatrician's specializing even further.
Correct. Then you have child and adolescent psychiatrists. These are medical doctors, so they can diagnose mental health conditions like depression or bipolar disorder, and importantly, they can prescribe medication if needed.
Psychiatrist, great.
Got it. There are also clinical child psychologists. They usually have a PhD or a CISID, specializing in children's mental health. They provide therapy, psychological testing, and collaborate with psychiatrists if medication is part of the plan.
Psychologists focusing on therapy and testing.
Yes. Sometimes neurologists get involved if there's a concern that the issues might be related to the nervous system. And neuropsychologists are interesting too. They focus on brain structure and function, how it relates to behavior and learning. They use specialized tests to identify learning disabilities or mental health issues tied to brain function.
Wow, that's very specialized.
It is. And don't forget the support within schools. School psychologists, they work right there in the school, use school records, talk with parents and teachers, and make recommendations for support within the school environment.
That's a great resource to have right there.
Absolutely. And finally, there are licensed clinical social workers, LCSWs or LMSWs. They have master's degrees and are trained to evaluate, diagnose, and provide therapy and treatment planning for people of all ages, including children.
So quite a network of potential support people.
Definitely. It often takes a team approach.
That's reassuring. Now, shifting gears slightly, what about the family's role? What can parents and caregivers do at home to support their child's emotional well-being?
Oh, the family role is absolutely fundamental. Omega Pediatrics really emphasizes this. Creating a safe, supportive home environment is probably number one.
Making home a safe base.
Exactly. Where kids feel they can actually talk about their feelings without being judged or dismissed. So practicing open communication is huge. Really encourage them to share and then listen.
Just listen. That can be harder than it sounds.
It can, but it's vital. Also, fostering positive relationships. Encourage activities they enjoy. Help them build connections with friends and family. That social support is protective. And, the basics matter too. Encouraging a healthy lifestyle, balanced diet, getting enough sleep, regular physical activity. It supports mental health just as much as physical health.
The mind-body connection again.
Always. And being a role model yourself, show them healthy ways to cope with stress or difficult emotions. Kids learn by watching.
That's a big one. Lead by example.
For sure. And finally, perhaps most importantly, know when to seek help. Don't hesitate to talk to your pediatrician or mental health professional if you're concerned. It's a sign of strength, not weakness.
Such important advice. It really circles back to not ignoring mental health, seeing it as part of overall health, and knowing that pediatricians are key allies. Early help makes such a difference. And for anyone wanting more detailed information, resources, or support regarding your child's mental health, please do visit omegapediatrics.com. They have a wealth of information.
Absolutely. Pediatricians are really equipped to help families navigate this, and there are so many avenues for support.
Matthew, this has been incredibly insightful. Thank you for joining us on Have More Babies and breaking this down so clearly.
My pleasure. Happy to talk about it.
So for everyone listening, the big takeaway is pay attention to your child's emotional world just as you do their physical health. If you have concerns, reach out. Your pediatrician is an excellent starting point. And if you found this conversation helpful, please give this video a like, subscribe to our channel for more discussions like this, and share it with anyone else, other parents, caregivers who you think might benefit.
Goodbye for now, everyone.
Goodbye. And remember, nurturing your child's total well-being, mind and body is truly the most important investment you can make.